Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Aligning with Success. Like DiMuccio here, your host. Special guest tonight. We have a new Silver. I'll introduce her in a moment. I wanted to say, on the weekend, I watched a movie that I think ought to be mandated, called The Social Dilemma. You can watch this on Netflix. It's quite riveting in terms of this is a documentary from the people who actually created social media, the actual authors and programmers and developers. For instance, the person who created the like button on Facebook. I mean, we're talking about right from the horse's mouth. These people who are involved with Google and all the major Pinterest and all the major social media apps, basically talking about the utopian environment that they imagined themselves creating and then what they have subsequently realized they've created. And it gets into the depths of what's actually happening, that on the other side of the screen, what's actually happening is every single thing you do is being recorded, calculated, and added to their version of an avatar. You have a likeness, an image in the cyber world that has every detail of your psychology embedded in the program. And it continues to do that and continues to receive, and it's all voluntary because we're always volunteering our information. And so they've built profiles using artificial intelligence, and the AI has gone way beyond to the point where they're creating content and programming, prompting you to stay busy and active and consume time on social media. It's got, my kids were the ones who insisted I watch this, by the way, Sophia and Savannah, and they now have set limits on their phone. There's an app, or in your settings, you can set limits on your social media apps as to when you can look at when it's offline, or how many hours or what time permissions you grant yourself in terms of social media. As Sophia reported, this week alone, she saved, get this, 21 hours. She's off social media. She's down by 21 hours. That means she's gained almost a whole day of her life to actually live with her eyes looking at the world and the people around her instead of the screen in front of her. Imagine that. So I just give that as a heads up because there's some really interesting information coming to light, and I think it's really important information that we share, particularly when we are being manipulated as a species to a point where it's beyond reasonable, beyond. In fact, there's one of the comments that they make that's really interesting. They say, the question at the end is, do you think we can fix this? And the person turns to the camera and says, we have to. In other words, where we're going, there's no coming back from. So this has to be addressed. So anyway, there's my commercial for something completely unrelated to Nikken, or is it? I mean, if a lot of your time is consumed by social media through, and by the way, you probably know this already, you know, you'll go on your phone and then like 20 minutes is gone. You're like, oh my God, I got to get on this call, or I got to get in the shower, or what. It just like that. So it does have the ability to trap us or entrap us in without using our own psychology against us. So watch this movie, The Social Dilemma, and I'm sure once you've watched it, you're going to recommend it to everybody. Anyway, so welcome everybody tonight. Tonight's special guest is Elaine Brewster, our new Silver, my new Silver, as of last month. And she has a journey with Nikken, and I thought it would be great to not only listen to a little bit of her journey, maybe open the floor to some questions, because you know, there's many ways to skin a cat, but there are certain principles that are tried and true and always resolve into success. And so this is a success that we want to celebrate. This is a success that we hope for all the people that we enroll in Nikken, that they achieve this as a major first step in their career as they build. As I can see, Leo, I'm looking at Leo LeMay's pictures. Isn't that awesome? Look at that. It says ambassador. Humans being more. Love it. He's an ambassador of humans being more in this picture. That's great, Leo. So, Elaine, you're unmuted. Welcome to tonight's call. You are our featured guest. And first of all, I want to just say congratulations. I think
Thank
this is the
you.
first time I'm saying it to you face to face. I've said it to you other ways, but congratulations. So, okay, why don't we just do a little bit of a history on your involvement in Nikken, starting from how did you first learn about Nikken and when?
My husband and I first, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're good.
Okay. My husband and I first learned about Nikken 23 years ago. Probably we signed up maybe in 2 days, 23 years ago. And we actually signed up as a business. My husband had been he was a chemical engineer, and his job was leaving. And everybody else in his area was going to different places in the United States, and he wanted to stay here. So our soccer coach gave us a tape, said, go listen to it. And I'd already heard a little bit about magnetism. And so when I heard what it did, I said, wow, this is cool. And he, being a chemical engineer, said, no, this is weird. And so it took him talking to Neil Duell, who is a physicist, before he could understand it. At that time, there were not a whole lot of professional people in Nikken, and my husband felt really weird. And so then he finally wrote his list of pros and cons, and he realized that everything he had wanted, his freedom, his ability to work with people instead of just research, everything he wanted was on the pro side, and it was Nikken. And everything he didn't want was what he was doing. And so we jumped into Nikken and we became silver. And I think it took us 3 months to do that. And then we became gold. And we ended up with 4 silver legs under us. And we were in Nikken for 5 years. And then my husband died. And he's the one that had done the main building. I'm a singer. I feel comfortable in front of people. Get me in front. I've sung in front of 12,000 people and I'm fine. But get me one-on-one, I don't know what to do.
You know, I totally know that feeling because that was what my life was like before Nikken. I could be in front of an audience and feel very comfortable singing, and I would have been completely shell-shocked in front of an audience for business, and then it flipped. Sorry, go ahead.
I asked Julie Tara one time. We actually, when we went silver, we got to go on the Japan. Oh, where is it? Oh, it's out in the other room. I was going to bring it. My Japan flag from 1998 that had listed all, I might still go get it. That had listed all of the countries that were in Nikken at the time. And when we were in Japan, everyone wore their country outfits and they marched in this great big long line holding their country flag. It was amazing to realize there were all of these people all over the world that were doing what we did, but I still didn't know what that was. So I asked Julie Tara on the bullet train, and she just looked at me like I was crazy, and she said, "You listen, Elaine," which I still didn't know what that meant, but actually that's the very, very best thing, and it still goes today. So anyway, my husband died, and inexplicably, within about 6 months of his death, our whole very, very strong organization in our county, it all dissolved. One person died, you know, just different things happened. And I wasn't strong enough to keep it together myself. So I decided that it would be better for me if I got out of Nikken, which you have to do for a year, and came in under a different sponsor. And it turns out that he had such a large organization. He was just traveling. He was really gone from this area maybe 3 out of 4 weeks. And even though I was front level to him and just hungry for it, he wasn't here enough to really help me. And then he's one of those that left Nikken. And so I'm on Dave's register on his radar, and and he calls me every now and then. So he called me a year ago, January, said, hey, Elaine, we've got this great event coming up in Layton, right up the road, 3 hours, 2 hours from me. And it was the first time in 17 years that my life was calm enough that I could say, yes, I'll come. And actually, so it was that event up in Utah that made me really, really want to jump in again. But actually, it was Humans Being More. I decided if I was going to play the Nikken game, I was going to play the whole game, because I've been to Humans Being More, like many of you, a zillion times, but I hadn't been recently. And so I decided to go, and it was Humans Being More that let me know, you know, a single lady who didn't know what she was doing. I could, you know, and at my age and everything, that I could do this. So anyway, I've been learning, and I would say that besides Humans Being More, is the 2 things that have gotten me to silver are the 3-foot rule, and you know, and Nikken Connect. You know, plugging into things like this right now. I have been very, very consistent. I listen to the sizzle calls almost every night. No, I don't get other people on often, but it's what has helped me to buoy up my courage, my knowledge, and then on the 3-foot rule, well, and that being with people started with Michael taking me to lunch, and you know, and just knowing that support was there, that was pretty cool. And on the 3-foot rule, I had just decided to talk to everybody. And so I was at the library and sitting next to a darling girl, and we just started talking. And this is kind of a new thing for me. And I hear that it's what people are doing nowadays is, you know, not talking about the business, which is what people did for us initially, but just talking. And then as you talk, find some common ground. And as you find that, you know, what Susan Carper was saying the other day, and then with that common ground, then move forward. So this cute girl, she's the age of my daughters, and she said, oh, you are just like my mom. You need to meet my mom. Well, finally, she had me meet her mom, and it is true. We are like clones of each other. Because this gal, Emily, and she's on the call tonight, she used to be a Nikken even before I was. She was a Nikken, I think, 25 years ago, and had always used the products and wanted to get some more. And so we've been working together, and it's just been really, really fun working with somebody else.
So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions as well, and I'm going to open up the floor for other people to ask you, but I just want to kind of recap for everybody who's picking up the story as we're going here, or to recap from the beginning. So this is your second life in Nikken. And I mean, you already had an exciting one with a partner where you experienced a lot of great events. I mean, if you were at a Nikken convention and you were, you got to the rank of gold and beyond, and you were, I mean, you were experiencing all of the highs, especially around that time, I remember too. So when that sort of went away, your husband passing away first and foremost, and then that kind of putting a damper on the whole experience, a lot of time passed by. And yet Nikken still sort of resides in the backdrop, right? I mean, the products and the people, but people have to go through whatever developments they have to go through, whatever growth they have to go through, but it was there, it was always there for you. And then I'm the person who benefited from what transpired next when you rejoined Nikken, and that individual between us is no longer with us, but you are still there. And then something initiated, and I'm glad you brought this up, because what we find, and I'm going to refer to this later because I referred to it a week ago, I talked about an audio that I think everybody ought to listen to called Silver's a Blast. And in that audio, there's a trigger. There's something that has to happen that triggers a decision for somebody to really step into the business. And what's typical, you mentioned both things. You went to an event, the event that I was at in Logan, Utah. So you went to a big event, number one. And number two, you went to HBM. Both those two very things that are named repeatedly in that audio, Silver's a Blast, which are the two triggers, one of two, you went to both, that triggers somebody to somehow change their behavior and become more passionate, more active, more committed, more whatever. And that got you to change your behavior to the point where now you made a decision that you're going to talk to everybody, the 3-foot rule, which is probably the most organic thing anybody could possibly do. But as you noted, take some courage. And that was the beginning of a journey. Also, you mentioned Nikken Connect. I'm glad you brought that up because it's the support system. So regardless of where you are in the world or where you're at in your mindset or where you're at in your development of the business, you've got this support system that's there for you week in and week out to help you move forward, keep moving forward. We refer to that as the rhythm of the business. There needs to be regular activity and plugging into regular events. That's the lifeblood of the business. Imagine if your heart stopped pumping, of course, everything would stop. And so the pumping is the Nikken event schedule, that rhythm of constantly being exposed, introducing, plugged in is the key to the business. So you met somebody. Let's carry on from there. So, well, I mean, Silver, we know what Silver is. The compensation plan says you got to do 6,000 points within 3 months. And you need a few other requirements, like some outside leg volume, 2 or 3 other people. So let's hear about it.
Well, if you really, I mean, we've been doing pretty well. We've been introducing. One of the interesting things was there was a lady who came to my house to get some duct tape because my friend Emily didn't have any duct tape. So one of her people came to me and we talked, and this lady was so knowledgeable in everything alternative. I thought, this lady will never do anything in Nikken. Well, she ended up buying enough stuff, she almost became executive on her first purchase. So I thought, all right, Elaine, you need to not, put that expectation on anybody. And so anyway, we've just been talking to people and building up some money. I did over the 3 months. And it actually was the Saturday at the end of September, because I'm writing a book about my husband's cancer journey at the same time. It's in the process of being editing, and so both of these things were at the same time. So I finally thought, I really think I've been doing really well. And so I realized that I thought that I was $1,000 off. And I thought, I can do that. I've got 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so then I ended up talking with Ben, and Ben suggested that I call Ruben, and Ruben with Melissa, they wrote down the numbers. And I wasn't 1,000 off, I was 750 off. And I went, oh, this is getting better, just making it more possible. And then somehow that turned to only 450 off. And I went, oh, this is getting better. And I talked to a bunch of people and decided on that very last day that what I wanted to do was just give anybody wholesale, whatever they wanted. I just wanted the points. Forget the money, I just want the points. And so I sold 2 or 3 water systems on the last day. And, and
made it happen.
Yeah. And,
now,
and that was, and that was part of it, was that mentality. It is going to happen. It is going to happen.
So you were committed to making it happen. So obviously the evidence of that is it happened.
Yeah.
And that's how we know, the intention mechanism game from humans being more. We know what a person's results tell us, what their intentions were. So you used whatever mechanisms were available to you, but your intention was clear.
One interesting thing for me has been, okay, like I said, I'm writing this book. I've got 18 grandchildren, and some of them are over here on a regular basis. And, you know, and I have a life like all of you. And at first, it seemed like these were interruptions that wouldn't allow me to do Nikken. And I have noticed that every one of these interruptions ends up leading me toward Nikken. And Nikken is just something that I'm able to weave into the flow of my life. And that delights me more than I can tell you.
Wow, that's amazing. So I have a question, and then we'll open the floor. Simple question. What does it mean to you now that you've achieved the rank of silver?
Well, I don't know what it makes me very, very, well, okay, what it means to me. I think one of the things that I've always wanted is to be a leader. And, you know, I know being a soloist in music and stuff, that's being a leader of sorts. But, you know, but to really be a leader is just something that I've wanted to do all my life. And so this feels like the beginning of that pathway. And, you know, and I hope that, you know, that there's an organization like Susan Carver showed us the other day that's ahead of me. It makes me very happy. I don't like unfinished things. And since I bothered to leave that gold distributorship, you know, and start all over again, you know, it makes me happy that I could get to silver and, you know, maybe be able to say to my husband in the next life, you know, we did it together, but look at what I did. You know, I followed in your footsteps and I did it. And the other thing that it makes me want to do is it makes me want to talk to everybody. You know,
That's awesome.
yeah. And give, you know, and give everybody that chance.
Well, we're very inspired by your story because it was a long journey that had two parts to it, like the first life and now the second life, and the fact that you can do that. I mean, Nikken can always be there for you. There's really nothing that says you can't come back, you can't do this, you know, you can't start fresh. It's just an open door. Nikken is an open door.
Well, and I've had many people, you know, want me to join this business or that business. And originally I looked at them a little bit and I just always went, nope, it's going to be Nikken or nothing.
All right. Well, let's open the door for some more Q&A. So does anybody have a question for Elaine about what she's been doing?
Just the flag you meant, Elaine?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Barb. Yes.
I was there in '98 as well. And
Were you?
Find this.
Fantastic. Wow. Anybody have a question for Elaine? Don't be shy. Any question?
I don't have a question for Elaine. I just want to say.
I asked for a question, Barb. Okay.
No,
you can...
no question. Elaine and I have had numerous conversations over since San Diego, right, Elaine?
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely delighted that you've achieved silver, that you found your path, that you're going forward, and that you're totally focused on your end result. Congratulations.
Thank you, Barb. That's sweet.
Is there, by the way, Elaine, is there anyone you want to introduce us to? You mentioned somebody.
Oh, yeah, Emily. Maybe you can wait
where
for
I'm
him.
looking to
Emily
see.
Ellsworth.
Where's Emily? Emily Ellsworth. There she is.
Because she'd been swimming, and so she had a beanie cap on. So she might just be a name.
I can just say hello to Emily. There you are, Emily. You're unmuted. Hi. Hello, Emily.
Sorry, I'm not on video with you guys. I had wet hair and a beanie on, and like she said, I just gotten out of the pool. I was doing laps, and but but I
Well,
wanted to join in. I had no idea that Elaine was going to be the star of the show tonight, but
Well,
this
how
is
about that?
exciting.
And they're the co-star here because you had a hand in this. So wait, I want to ask Emily, how does it make you feel that your contribution to, to Nikken has contributed to her advancement to silver?
That is really awesome. I mean, I didn't realize, she told me that she had made silver and asked me the other day if I wanted to go for it. And I thought, sure, I want to go for it. Not really knowing too much what was involved. But just tonight during the call, I realized, oh, I guess the selling that, or not selling per se, but the sharing of products with other people that I did helped her, and I didn't even think about that until tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the
That's
beauty of
exciting.
this business is that we help people help others and it helps everybody.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
had
the
the
idea
cool,
of a drop of water in the ocean raises the ocean, right? For everybody, raises the boats for everybody.
that's right.
Well,
I-
congratulations to you too. I didn't check, but Elaine, maybe you can clarify. Is Emily did she achieve executive?
Yeah, but she had already done that.
Okay, right. So you definitely, first of all, Emily, congratulations on that because I don't think you got recognized. But yeah, so there you go, Emily. So you're up for silver next.
I guess so. That's what she said.
Well, you know what? I think
I
Elaine
need
can
to
help, and I'm
learn.
certainly available.
Good, good. Now, tell me your name again.
My name is Mike DiMuccio.
Oh, Mike. Okay.
That's okay. I'm not very popular, but we can get to know each other, and I'll be more popular to you.
That's great. I can use all
have-
the help I can get.
I have to say, Emily just naturally follows the 3-foot rule. She just talks to people. She said that she lives in a golden community where it's a retirement community. So everyone around her is older, and she said they all hurt. And so she just goes to one, and I've got something that might help your walking. It goes to another. I've got something that goes to another. Oh, I have the best water. And they all listen to her. Emily is amazing.
I have a question, Elaine, it's Yoko. I just wanted to ask you, don't you feel differently now? Because you've inspired all of us, okay? Don't you feel differently now that you have confirmed to yourself, that you have all of these, I call it features to yourself that you've not recognized, and that they're now coming out and blooming and blossoming, and you sound wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm really, jazzed for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Yoko. Yeah, I do feel different, actually. I know that silver is, just the first on a journey, but but it is a milestone, and it really does make me happy and make me feel more secure and more powerful is not a good word, but capable. So yeah, thank you.
And by the way, the perks that go with that, of course, is the fact that you're maximizing the compensation plan on all of your activities. And so let's not forget that. That's a pretty important part. If it's if Nikken's something you're going to continue to do, and you want to generate an income from, you definitely want to do it from a place where you're maximizing your earnings. So that's another benefit of what you've done.
Right.
Elaine, I have a question. One of the things that it seemed like you were juggling a lot of things in your life, and Nikken is one of the things on that plate. But do you recall now, looking back, what was your line of demarcation?
What do you mean, Barbara?
The shift, was there something that occurred that you decided to make this to solidify your silvership? Did you have some things occur? Did you make a decision at one point?
No, it's just tiny little decisions along the way. And again, this kind of goes back to humans being more. As I have been writing this book, the reason I'm writing it is because my husband's cancer journey, it was just 4 months. By the time he found out, it was diagnosed and he died. And his journey was not chemo and radiation. It was all alternatives based off of, or with Nikken being the starting point. And a lot of people like yourself, Barbara, you know, in Nikken, Dave Johnson, have had problems, and they have been able to know where to go. So, so part of what he did was what I just call energy work. It's people, energy work is people who can feel your energy. They'll put their hand maybe 3 inches away, 2 inches away. They don't even touch you, but they can feel the energy coming off you. And then in various ways, they'll ask the negative to go away. And meanwhile, they're putting love energy into you to replace it. And one of those men told me, he said, you know, you have been acting in your past kind of like a victim, you know, like life is happening onto you. And he said, and he muscle tested, and he said, oh, that's gone back 5 generations through your mother's side of the family. And he didn't say the victimizing idea, but I think that's what he meant. And so that's something that is a paradigm that I was born with, that my DNA responds that way. You know, either, oh, poor is me, or you guys are all better than I am, you know, so it just, I'll let you do it because you're better than I, you know, that kind of thing. And I noticed that in my 23-year Nikken journey with Humans Being More, that I am doing that less and less and less. And like Yoko said, being silver has made me even do it less. And because in the past I would have ideas. See, I wanted to reach a big level by the time I was 50, and that didn't quite happen. We were gold. But then he died. He was 51 and I was 52. And so those big goals that I have, they didn't happen. And then 60 came, and it still didn't happen. And so I just thought that this morning, I'm now 70 this year, and that would be an easy thing to say, oh, you're too old, you can't do this. And that thought never crossed my mind at all. So I'm saying there are little increments that have come because of, you know, because of plugging in, and, you know, and all of you people helping me, as well as Humans Being More helping me. Some of those bad ideas from the past, they're not even there. They don't even have a little lodge hole, which is quite amazing.
Wow.
Does that kind of answer?
Well, for me, I'm thinking about, you know, these gifts that we're given, these opportunities that we are given to step through the hoop or walk through the door and see what's on the other side. Given especially the time we're living in and the circumstances, Elaine, your story is very inspirational and can really be an inspiration to a lot of people who maybe don't know that this is here, or that this option exists for them. And it doesn't have to be, you know, they don't have to walk through the door and become a rock star overnight. You know, this is just a place that is a space for creativity, for expression, for healing, for sharing, for camaraderie, for purpose to be expressed and fulfilled. And you demonstrated that. You've demonstrated that for how many years now? 18 years. And so I think those little baby steps that have led to this moment in time are all preparations too for maybe the next phase in your life. You said you wanted to be a leader. Well, what do leaders do? They lead by example, and you're doing that. So tell your story. It's a great story. That's a great way to help people see that there's some potential here. And this is being recorded, so feel free to take this recording when it's published later tonight and share it with people you care about, because your story is a great story. Does anyone else have another question? We're going to make this a short call so that this is a shareable video. Anyone?
I don't have a question, but just a comment, Elaine, when you said each interruption leads to Nikken. And I think it's just that great attitude that you have, because we can see it as an interruption and, oh, I had something more important to do. But you're seeing that interruption as something important.
Fantastic. You know, I had 2 people this week rejoin Nikken. So that seems to be, I don't know if you recall, and I'm pretty sure I said this a few times in previous meetings, that people are going to be coming. People are going to be coming to us. And I feel more and more stronger about that, that the fact that we have been here all this time, the terra firma in this, and you know, when the wind is blowing, we've got some deep roots here. You're going to see more and more of this. And stories like yours, Elaine, are just really the perfect story to share with them, because it does tell people, you know, it doesn't matter what the past was. That's just the past. What do we do about it now, and where do we go from here? That's what's really important.
Mike, and then Elaine, the word is empowered. You've empowered yourself and you've empowered us. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the word, Yoko. I had an epiphany this week, maybe just my ending thing. I read in scriptures every morning to start me off, and there's some wonderful, powerful things. And I have some of my older grandchildren are just kind of struggling in life right now, and I feel like if they would be tuned into this, that life would be easier for them. And, you know, and it really hurts me. And you read this wonderful stuff and you think, how can I share what I'm reading? Because I'm reading some really powerful stuff. And the epiphany was, no. I get to read what I read, but what I share is me. And that's what I just thought, based on something that Michael said too, is in Nikken. You know, we learn all this, we have this, all the good attributes and the feelings and the things that we know are in Nikken. We just want to share with other people, but actually what we're going to share is us.
Beautiful. Well, I think that's a perfect note to end this call on. I want to thank everybody for joining and listening in, and Elaine, especially to you for sharing your heart with us and your story with us. And I think this is going to be a great story to share with a lot of people. So wonderful. Again, congratulations. Thanks, everybody. And this coming week, as you probably all know, is Thanksgiving. So Monday's call won't happen, since it will be Thanksgiving Monday here in Canada. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Otherwise, we'll see you on one of the other calls on Nikken Connect. Again, thanks, everybody. Have a great night.